What is up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, just welcome. My name is Gemma Jade, but today we are going to be doing a part 2 of the Men in Black series. The reason I chose to do another part to the Men in Black series is because I just got done with the 3-parter, The Disappearance of Eric Franks. I just got done with Keeslyn Roberts and Caleb Smith, which, if you saw that video, I'll put it up here, really kind of got to me. And it's just, I need a little break. So the next couple of videos are going to be a little less heavy. I have a conspiracy theory video coming up very soon that I'm working on now. I have my January favorites coming up. So just going to take a little break for about a week or so before we get back into the heavy. I hope you guys don't mind, and I hope you guys will continue to stop in and hanging out and having fun with me. Without further ado, let's jump right into the real Men in Black. Now, as you guys know, I'm not talking about the Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones type Men in Black. Oh no. I'm talking about these creepy, dark clad, kind of black sunglasses, pasty plastic looking skin, sometimes lipstick mouthed, communicating through telepathy, no hair on their entire bodies, creepy AF, alien, government agents, completely made up folktale, MIB. If you haven't seen part 1, you can watch this one first because it's just a list of 3 stories of alleged encounters with Men in Black. I'll put it right here, but I just want to tell you guys again that I am not a skeptic by any means about most things. Like, I don't even have healthy skepticism. I am completely naive and gullible. I know nothing about technology. So when I see photos or things like that, you know, have a ghost in it, most of the time I'll believe it. But then I do research it and find out that it's been debunked somehow normally. And I'm like super upset. But one of these stories today does involve a photo, which some people will say has been debunked and most people say it has not. I'm not even going to get into the debunking. If you want to do that, you can research that on your own. This is just kind of a fun, let me give you the creeps type of video because I like messing around with you guys and I just think it will be fun. Just like I did last time, I am going to refresh your memory with what Wikipedia says the Men in Black are. Quote, "The Men in Black are supposed men dressed in black suits who claim to be quasi-government agents who harass, threaten, or sometimes even assassinate UFO witnesses to keep them quiet about what they have seen. It is sometimes suggested that they are disguised aliens themselves. The term is also frequently used to describe mysterious men working for unknown organizations, as well as various branches of governments allegedly designed to protect secrets or perform other strange activities. The term is generic, used for any unusual, threatening, or strangely behaved individual whose appearance on the scene can be linked in some fashion with a UFO sighting. Several alleged Men in Black encounters have been reported by UFO researchers and enthusiasts," end quote. And just like with the BEK, the Black-Eyed Kids phenomenon, I am going to refer to the people recounting or reporting these stories as victims. They are threatened a lot of the time. The only thing I can't seem to understand is, I mean, I'm not as scared of the Men in Black anymore as I am of the BEK or as I used to be, because I've been going through all these stories and it's like, yeah, the MIB threaten these people and a lot of the time they will destroy their evidence and they never talk about the encounter again and they never talk about their evidence again for a few years. But even if it's a number of years, I mean, the MIB aren't very effective at keeping themselves secret or the information, you know, unknown, because they never follow through with their threat as best as I can find. I tried to find an encounter or a story of an encounter where the person actually got hurt, and I really couldn't find one. So I'm sure most of you who watch this channel are subscribed to at least one of the millions of channels on YouTube, like top 5 lists and top 10 lists, like top 10 McDonald's food ranked best to worst, or top 10 MIB encounter stories, right? Where they just skim the surface and give you just enough to keep you wanting more. Now, without being able to read any kind of full book on the MIB, it's hard for me to get a lot of information or a lot of in-depth into these alleged encounters. So again, a fun, quick video. So if most of you are subscribed to one or more of those channels, you probably have seen the next photo and heard the story that goes with it. But here it is anyway, the Solway Firth photo. And I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Come at me, guys, and let me know if I am or not. So here's the story with this photo right here. A man named Jim Templeton was simply snapping a photo of his daughter while they were spending some time together at Burgh Marsh, which overlooks Solway Firth. Solway Firth is an estuary that forms part of the border between England and Scotland, and Jim insists that this figure was not in his line of sight when he snapped the photo. It was just a picture plainly of his daughter sitting there. He also said there was nobody else around for that matter. His wife, who was there that day, was not anywhere near where the picture could be. And the only other people at the marsh or on the marshes that day were 3 elderly women who were sitting in a car that again was nowhere near where he snapped the photo. Jim explains that the mere existence of this photo brought along a very creepy visit from the Men in Black. It was May 23rd, 1964, and Jim, at the time, was a firefighter in Scotland. That was his profession. So a credible person, right? We can almost all agree on that. Templeton stated, quote, "I took 3 pictures of my daughter Elizabeth in a similar pose and was shocked when the middle picture came back from Kodak displaying what looks like a spaceman in the background," end quote. Now, in my opinion, I don't see a spaceman. Let me know what you think in the comments. I don't know what exactly it looks like, but it doesn't look like a spaceman to me, but moving on. I should mention that Jim did send the negative to Kodak, and they confirmed that there was nothing wrong or nothing done to the original print to kind of doctor it up to make it look like there was something or a spaceman in the picture standing behind his daughter. It is a really creepy photo to look at. And if he shot 3 different pictures, then it should be in all 3. It shouldn't have disappeared by the 3rd one. Do you know what I mean? It's like it kind of popped up, and I'm assuming he snapped the pictures in quick succession. Not as quick probably as we can today with a camera from 1964, but you guys get the picture. There was no Adobe Photoshop back then. I mean, how do you really doctor a photo from back then? I'm sure there are ways, but would the average person really have known how to do that back then? I don't know. Kodak states that there was nothing done to the negative, to the original. Remember, kids, this was back when you had to actually send your film out after you finished the roll to get developed and wait like a week to 10, sometimes 14 days to get the 22 or 24 pictures back. Free doubles most of the time on those 4x6s, am I right? God, I'm old. So anyway, you send it out. You don't know what the pictures look like. There's no way of seeing the photo before you send it out. So you could end up with an entire roll of like terrible pictures. But I should do a scary story on disposable and old-time photographs before digital, right? Jim states that just hours after getting the picture authenticated by Kodak, the local news, national news, and even international news were all interested in getting a peek at this photo because, again, Kodak had stated it wasn't shady, right? He said he turned it over to just one local news station, and it was kind of this snowball effect of all the other national, international, and local news sources getting in contact with him, like foaming at the mouth, right? Because this was a real weird photo. A spaceman just pops up, and again, I don't see a spaceman. I just can't let that go. He says within days of turning this photo over to the one news station, he was visited by 2 men dressed all in black. The men allegedly said they worked for the government, but refused to show any kind of identification and also refused to give their names, calling themselves Number 9 and Number 10. The men demanded and insisted to be taken to the exact spot where the photo was taken, so Templeton obliged. He drove in their car, a black vehicle, of course. I don't know the make or model. And when they got there, the MIB started asking him, like, what happened. And when Jim told them what happened, and they kept insisting, oh, you must have seen this spaceman or this image through the viewfinder while you're taking the picture. And they asked him so many times, and Jim was adamant, no, I didn't see anything except my daughter when I took this picture. The MIB apparently got really angry. We talked about their rage before, right? Like petulant children. And they stormed off in a fit, got into their car, and left him on the marshes. Like, just were like, F this guy. They were convinced he was lying about not having seen the image before the photo was developed. Crazy. How did he get home, you ask? Well, he had to walk. How far was it? I don't know. Like I said, this is not the first alleged encounter where the men in black displayed such petulant behavior and rage. They never show emotion on their face. Like I said, sometimes their lips like don't even look like they exist, and it just looks like there's red lipstick drawn in, like where lips should be. And I laugh when I think of this because, I mean, picture that image in your head, right? So this is not the first time they've gotten thrown their little temper tantrums. So the next part I put in here because I'm hoping you guys can explain to me what it means, because I had no idea. About a week after the photo made all these headlines and all these different news outlets, Jim was contacted by 2 employees at a missile launch pad in Australia. These employees said that they had to stop the missile launch when 2 spaceman figures that looked exactly like the one that were seen in his daughter's photo were seen on security footage. But when they went to look for them, when the security guards went to look for these 2 figures, these 2 spacemen, there was nobody there where the security cameras showed these people were. It's like they vanished. Are we to believe cameras from the 1960s have a view range of 20 miles? Because that's how far away this missile launch site was from Solway Firth. But I just don't understand, like, what is the meaning of this? Are they trying to just corroborate that there were these spacemen running around that day? Oh, it was the same exact day that Jim had taken his photo. Or are they trying to say that he accidentally caught something in the photo? I just don't know. So I know that's confusing, but if you understand what I'm saying and you know the answer to what that has to do with the photo, except maybe, like I said, it just came to me, maybe just corroboration, put it in the comments. We're going to move on to our next story. In November of 1961, a man named Paul Miller and 3 of his friends were out one night, returning home super late from a hunting trip in the town of Minnow, North Dakota. Now I'm going to put that on the screen because I do not know how to pronounce it. If you do, put it in the comments. So anyway, as these men were walking to their vehicle to head home, they reported seeing a, quote, huge luminous silo, end quote, first hovering above and then landing in a nearby field. The silo allegedly disappeared when it landed and then reappeared right before these 3 men's eyes. As if that wasn't enough, upon reappearing, the side of the silo opened up and 2 humanoid figures stepped out. 2 aliens stepped out of the side of this randomly appearing and disappearing silo that was capable of hovering midair, defying gravity, a UFO, above a field. The 3 men freaked out, and obviously they had firearms on them because they were coming home from a hunting trip. And Jim discharged his firearm and did either 2, it says in some reports, or 3 in others, shots right at the humanoids. Apparently, he had hit and injured at least one of the figures. I don't know how he knew that. I don't know if it screamed in pain. I don't know if he saw some kind of blood. It just says that he hit at least one of the figures with one of the bullets that he discharged from his hunting weapon. I guess the men got really freaked out. I mean, obviously at this point, I would have been freaked out just by seeing the thing hovering in the air, let alone the disappearing act and then aliens actually stepping out. I don't know if I would have shot at them. So I guess the men's fight or flight reflex finally kicked in, right? Paul shot at these humanoid creatures. He's pretty sure, he's convinced that he hit and wounded at least one of them. The men take off, run to the car as fast as they can. They are terrified. They jump in their vehicle and they take off down this desolate and mostly unlit rural road. This is when they report that they completely blacked out. And when they came to, remarkably, they were still driving on the same desolate, unlit, and rural road in the same direction. Only now they had come to the realization that 3 whole hours had passed and they have no recollection at all as to what happened in those 3 hours. It was like they were driving and then, you know, they blink and they're still in the exact same spot driving down the exact same road. And they still to this day don't know what happened. It should be noted that it only took about 20 to 30 minutes to get from the point where they saw the silo, where they saw the UFO, to their respective homes. The very next morning, though, Paul Miller decided, hey, the show must go on. He gets himself up. He gets himself to work on time. If that were me, I don't know if I'd leave the comfort of hiding under my blankets for months if I had just had this encounter, especially with like the 3-hour blackout. But he got up. He went to work on time. When he got to work, men dressed in black suits already at his job waiting for him. The men claimed to be, quote, government officials, end quote, and relentlessly questioned to the point of him feeling like he was being interrogated about his experience the previous night. So with this interrogation, Miller was completely terrified and taken aback. There had hardly been enough time from him getting home in the middle of the night from hunting and this experience, getting some sleep, getting up early in the morning to get ready and get to work on time. He hadn't told anybody about the encounter. And to the best of his knowledge, neither had the other people he had been with. So how did these guys, these government officials, even know about the encounter in the first place? But Paul said they not only knew about the encounter, they knew everything about his life. Miller stated, quote, they seemed to know everything about me, where I worked, my name, everything else, end quote. He stayed silent about both his encounter with the UFO and his encounter with the MIB for years. He was afraid that these men would do something to his friends or family, or possibly even to him, if he didn't. And I guess he just got that vibe. I spoke in the last video about the MIB being able to communicate with each other telepathically. So maybe they were somehow purposely communicating something to his subconscious for him to stay quiet. Who knows? His story eventually got out, and there it was. Seems to follow the normal order of things when it comes to the MIB encounters. For our last encounter, I just want to say I was extremely surprised to see who was reporting this MIB visit. A friendly face most people know if you've ever watched SNL, especially back in the 70s and 80s, and also a face we've grown to love if we grew up watching 80s or 90s movies. I'm talking about our most favoritist, ghost-busting conehead, Dan Aykroyd himself. Love me some Dan Aykroyd. Now, I'm already a believer. Can you imagine the possible damage to Dan Aykroyd's reputation, to his credibility, to his career even, for coming out with this? I mean, why would he do it if it didn't actually happen? Do you know what I mean? Like, he's famous. He's a celebrity. He's probably a millionaire. He works in movies. That's his job, his passion, his life, his livelihood. Why would he risk losing all that and losing his credibility just to make up a story? And again, his story's just like the other ones. They're not like the BEKs where they give you this terrifying feeling where like you're afraid to go outside. It's just the creep factor of the whole thing. So here's what Dan Aykroyd reported about his MIB sighting. And again, it was quick and to the point. The MIBs don't play. I guess they don't have time to mess around. They're in, they give you the creepy ass vibes. They threaten you or give you thinly veiled threats. Sometimes they storm off in a petulant rage, and sometimes they just leave. I don't know. So here we go. Dan Aykroyd was on the set of a new paranormal show that he was involved in as an avid believer in UFO and paranormal phenomenon for pretty much his entire life, having had many experiences with both, according to reports. I don't personally know Dan Aykroyd. Dan says that while there was a short break in filming, he had stepped outside the studio to take a phone call from Britney Spears. That's my girl, by the way. I love Britney. So he steps outside to take this phone call from Britney Spears because she wanted to ask him if he would do Saturday Night Live with her. So after he hangs up the phone with Britney, he says that he looks up and notices that parked right across the street from him is a black Ford SUV. He said that a, quote, tall man, end quote, dressed in all black, black hat, black sunglasses, stepped out of the vehicle and started staring directly at him, totally mean-mugging, totally grilling him in a very intimidating way. Now, I don't know how tall Dan Aykroyd is, but he specifically describes the man as tall. So was he abnormally tall, or was he just tall for someone Dan Aykroyd's height. Dan Aykroyd doesn't seem that tall to me. I don't know, guys. I don't know the answer to that. Aykroyd said that he turned away for like a split second to see if anyone else was seeing this, but he looked back right away because he was creeped out and nervous, right? This tall guy intimidatingly staring him down. But when he looked back in the blink of an eye, the vehicle and the man were gone. They had seemingly vanished into thin air. When he went back inside and returned to the set, Aykroyd was told that production was completely canceled and that he needed to stop filming right away because there was going to be no more show. He was never given any kind of explanation. He was just told, we're done here. And that was it. The show never aired. What was he going to be talking about on that show? Possibly UFO experiences. I've seen him talk about some paranormal experiences he had had before. I just don't know. I believe that story is really credible too. And it's not because it's a celebrity, but it's because it's a celebrity. Like I said, think about everything he has to lose. I mean, he's Dan Aykroyd, so he's fine. But you guys get what I mean, right? There's a huge risk for loss there for him to come forward publicly with this story. And I watched the actual interview with him in it. So that is the end of our Men in Black. I know I made this super fun and not really that creepy, but that's what I tend to do with these stories because I just don't know. Like, I used to be such a believer in them, even while filming part 1, a super believer, super terrified of them. And now it's like, it's not that I wouldn't be scared if I encountered them. Of course I would be. But the more I start to see, like, things I start to see that make sense, that are like, they never follow through because they're not doing a very good job at keeping themselves or aliens visiting Earth hidden, right? I also read that the United States government purposely put out stories about MIB and fake UFO stories, and I have to delve deeper. I did keep the article, so maybe I'll do a video on that. I hope you enjoyed this kind of light-hearted video and will give me a big thumbs up just for coming to hang out with me. Thank you so much. You guys know I love you. I really appreciate you and all the support that you always give me. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about the Solway Firth photo. Let me know what you've heard about some of these stories. Have you heard them? Do you have your own MIB or UFO encounter? I have a couple subscriber stories sitting in my email and I really have to check them because I might be able to do a story on that. I have BEK part 3 coming up too. That's going to be super awesome. Guys, thanks for sticking with me. I know it's a total mixed bag on my channel, but I hope that's one of the things that you love about me and about my channel. I'm going to leave a link in the description box for my podcast that I do with Missing Persons and Mysteries and 13 Past Midnights, Steve Stockton, my partner in true crime. Those are parentheses, by the way. So the link for that, Strange Things with Steve Stockton and Gemma Jade. We took a 2-week hiatus just for a kind of little winter break. We'll be back either by the end of this week or next week. I'm going to leave a link for our new live stream that we're doing, and we're doing that every single week. It's called Fireside Chat with Steve and Gemma, and that's 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Missing Persons and Mysteries channel. Steve and I go in, we start talking, and then we read the chat, and you guys are involved in it. If you didn't check it out last week, please check it out. We had so much fun and everyone that was in there absolutely loved it. They wanted us to do it again. So it's a weekly thing, Fireside Chat with Steve and Gemma. The link is in the description box. Trust me, you guys, if you love my channel, if you love Steve, check it out. Also, if you are able to, if you can donate financially to the channel to help me out, I'm not monetized yet and I do this full time. There is a link to my Patreon. It's $5 minimum, but you can donate however much you want, and that goes directly into my account for things like a new background. I'm trying to get a new laptop because my Chromebook's just not doing it, and I need a webcam so I don't have to do everything on my phone. You guys know the story. I'll leave a link in the description box to that. Thank you so much to my current Patreons, Steve S., Willie S., Mark T., Frank P., and Terry B. You guys are the absolute greatest. Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who, even if you can't support me financially, for giving me the amazing support that you do. You always back me up. You always give me such confidence and strength. And I really, really hope you enjoyed this video. There's a link to my PayPal in the description box as well if you want to make just one time, however much donation to my account and not have it come out monthly. Whether you donate through PayPal or Patreon, I am going to give you access to Patreon only content, which right now is basically me posting pictures and little notes, and I will be giving early access up until I get enough patrons to do Patreon only content. And I can't wait for that because I have so many amazing ideas. Guys, be kind to each other. It doesn't cost anything. Be sure to check out Fireside Chat live on Missing Persons and Mysteries this week on Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And check out the description for everything else that I just stated so I don't get repetitive. All right. Love you guys. Have your best day. Have your best night. And I'll see you next time. Mwah. Bye.